online. I really appreciate it. So the first thing I'm going to ask for is I'm going to ask for an approval of the order of agenda. Can I get a motion?
I would make that motion.
Thank you. I'll make the second. Denise.
Okay, thank you. I think Anne might be joining us as anonymous. Okay. Anne, are you there? No. Okay. Second item is the approval of minutes from September. Can I get a motion?
I motion to approve minutes as submitted for September 16th. This is Monica.
Hi, Monica. Second.
Brad, second.
Thank you, Brad. Forgot to do this on the last one, so we'll have to go back, but all in favor?
Aye.
Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, I don't think I asked for this on the first one. I'm sorry, I guess I'm a little rattled. Back to the original motion to approve the order of agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Anne is trying to download the app on her phone and because she can't seem to get it on her laptop. Okay, I'm just gonna text her quick.
There she is.
Are you there? Anne,
I'm here, I think.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, I'm on my phone, so it wouldn't work on my laptop.
It's funny. Okay, so just so you know that we voted on the approval of the order of agenda and the approval of minutes. And we are moving on now to the appointment of chair and vice chair. So I'm going to call for a nomination for chair. Tracy. Tracy.
John, I would make a motion to nominate Deb Williams.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second that nomination.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much. And now can I get a nomination for vice chair? Tracy Georgery. For Tracy Georgery.
I would nominate John. John nominates Tracy Georgery.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Joe will second that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed? Okay, thank you guys. Sorry about that. I thought we had that fixed up. Sorry. Thank you, John. The next thing we're going to look at is going to be, it's a really fascinating thing. I'm really excited for you guys to see this, and I hope that you had a chance to look at the packet so you kind of got a preview. But we have got with us today, we've got Eric Vincent from Black Ink out of Connecticut, and we have Rachel Asselson with Reach Partners here in Fargo. And I know you heard about this project. And what I want to, and they're going to be presenting us the two final designs, and our job is to select the one that we like the most, and that will be forwarded to the mayor as our recommendation. So that's going to be our job today. What I wanted to tell you, I don't know if you've heard this part of the story before, is I was fortunate enough to serve on the committee that was tasked with selecting an applicant for this project. And Black Ink blew us away out of Connecticut. Their depth of knowledge in terms of public art is very broad, it's very deep. And one of the things that they asked is if they could work with somebody local. And as you know, as part of our public arts master plan, we have committed to helping our local artists expand their depth and their reach for their own work. Reach Partners applied as well, and they knocked it out of the park because they are so deeply tied to this community and have done such great things with community engagement, for instance, with the Fargo Project. They did really great things. So they were really close. It was a really tight race, and staff came up with the idea to hire both of them. And so the two companies have been working together, and we're going to see the results. And I can't even hardly tell you how excited I am that they were able to work together, and they came up with this thing like lightning quick. So that's all I got. That's all I got right now. So I'm going to ask Rachel and Eric to take it away. Yes.
There. Okay, I can't do two things at once. I was hoping to unmute my mic and share at this exact same time. That was not possible. So give me a second while I get the tab going. And here we go. Hi. Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Deb, for that wonderful introduction. Yes, absolutely. It has been just a complete delight and pleasure to work with Eric and Black Ink Creative Partners and his team on this project that happened really, really quickly. We had, again, give me a second while I try to navigate my screens here. We had the great pleasure to be able to work together on this, again, like she said, on a very quick schedule. Basically, our process was get the RFQ, that you all selected the artists, we reached partners, and Eric, we initiated champions within our community in that we called on friends, family, those who are well connected in our community to not only share the message, but also share it with their constituents. We initiated a community survey. We held virtual community conversations. We held 4 of those, which we had really nice attendance for. And between the survey and the community conversations, Eric and his designers worked on concepts, which we brought to a community design review session. That was made up of about 10 people. Some of them 20 people. Some of those people were considered sort of champions of the project, as well as community members at large. We worked with them in over 2 iterations and refined concepts even a little bit further, and then brought those concepts, which we'll look at today, to back to the engineers to then get an estimate. Is this really going to fit within their budget? And yes, these do, so we're good. And now we are at step 9 today, really short weeks after we initiated this. And your job today, as Deb said, is really to make a recommendation to the mayor and of one of 2 designs. And then we'd like your assistance in selecting the color palette of one of these 2 designs as well. We've got a couple of options there. And also we want you to look at these concepts to see, is this Fargo? Does this bespeak our community? Is there something, do you see something in it that we really shouldn't be putting up on a water tower in public? So if use a little discretion. We've scanned it ourselves deeply, but I don't think there's any hidden messages in there. But yeah, so we really need you to help us make these final selections. With that, let's see, just for context, so it's a water tower that's located on near 7th Avenue and University. If you were to stand west of Fargo Brewing Company and look down 7th Avenue North, you would see the water tower on your right. If you were to sit at the taco shop on University North and look across the railroad tracks, you would see the water tower. If you were to stand down on 6th Avenue North, say by Gasper's Dance Company, you would, and looking west, you would see that water tower. So that's the existing tower in place. But yeah, the new shape is basically shown here on the slide. Yeah. So as part of that survey, or as part of the community engagement, we conducted a survey that we launched online, as well as sent via email, as well as posted on the City of Fargo website. And some of the questions, which also matched what we talked about in our community conversations, were things: what do you think of when you think of Fargo? And over, this idea of sense of community came up. The stories of the 2009 flood, where people helped each other out, over and over, stories of those. A close-knit community, a warmth that was found, that is experienced by people new to the community, those who have even just been here for a few years, were expressed. We also asked questions like, what if Fargo was a person? How would you describe them? I think one of my favorite one was, in the conversations, was Dennis Wallaker. Here's somebody who's probably not that very handsome, however, very pragmatic, ready to lend a hand, able to get things done. And I don't know, I think that was quite a nice caricature of what is Fargo. And of course, Eric and his team had to go back and look, well, who's this guy? Our former mayor. Yeah, but this idea that Fargo is actually there's a warmth to Fargo. A new American who is, she has a nonprofit here in Fargo that engages the Liberian community. She was struck by the warmth. Okay, yeah, not the hot, not like today what we have with snow, but the actual, like the physical warmth that she has experienced with interacting with not just people from her native homeland, but with native Fargo, and she feels the warmth of Fargo as well. That really it's a positive. There's a positivity to our community, and again, over and over, caring was another phrase that was mentioned over and over in conversations and in the survey. One of the exercises that we did in the community conversations was just to ask, if you were to sum up Fargo in one word, except you could not use community, you could not use unity, and you couldn't use the word connection, because those over and over and over came up. Innovative, home, the idea of crossroads or intersection, and as even listed here, connection, this idea of that we are it's a pretty connected community. Yeah. So Eric, led during many of the conversations. His designers were actually at the ready with their pencils and just sketched as they listened to people talk, and people share stories about Fargo and share their impressions of Fargo. And as they sketched, they're thinking, they're trying to think of how does this play out in a visual form. And so we just wanted to show you a little bit how we came to the the existing designs. So here's a few sketches of those conversations. Then they presented their first concepts. And again, we went back to, so we had our community conversations with a number of people. They sketched and listened and jotted ideas down. And then they brought those ideas to the what we call the designers, and we called the community, again, this group of 20 people, the community as designers. So we tapped them as being helping making decisions about what the design was meant to look like. So we came up, Eric presented these five concepts. Then we brought them, narrowed it down again, same group of people, and asked them to refine that. We looked at, again, so the colors in this one prior were pretty bright. We looked at, Eric and his team looked at the actual colors that are available to the water tower as a coating. So there's specific, we don't get every color in the world, unfortunately. So it's a really specific palette to choose from. And so narrowing down that palette, understanding better from the engineers what it is that they need in order to make the exterior of this visible canvas actually withstand the test of time, being 30 years. So in the second derivation, we removed some of those brighter colors, and they look probably pretty subdued, and Eric can talk a little bit more about once they're on the water tower, they will brighten up because there'll be an additional coating on the exterior. So we ended up eliminating the bottom two concepts at that last meeting with the community. And these are the concepts we have for you to decide between today. So we've got there's similarities in these concepts, in that you'll see the themes of road, you see the themes of the river, you'll see the themes of wind or movement. You'll see, so you see some common occurrences in both of these, and yet they're quite different from each other. So I would love it. Eric, are you still there? Oh yes, he is. Oh, good.
Yeah. It's just for some reason, like, it keeps pixelating in and out, and on a different service we used, it was my camera was causing all the pixelation. So I turned off my camera to see if it would stop, but it didn't. So we came to, we from those designs, and some of the elements from the other designs were brought into these designs. You know, we listened to the community, and basically our design team at this point. At this point, you know, those two meetings we had with the group of 20, we were listening. We were listening and looking at and listening to their suggestions, their thoughts, their ideas, from a design perspective as well. Whether they had design experience or not didn't matter to us. So we started to amalgamate those ideas into these two designs. And again, you can see there's similar things happening here, because our team works as a team. So, you know, no one has monopoly on creativity, right? So we were able to, Emily was able to share design elements with Sean and so on and so forth. And they were able to take design elements from my design and amalgamate them to make them similar, to make them connected, and create the those thoughts in a visual sense, but make them very different. One of the things we did do is we listened to everybody when we came up with this concept. The first concepts, if you look at them, you'll see we didn't have Fargo twice on the tower. One of the things from a design aesthetic for me was that when I looked at water towers, I felt like a lot of them, and getting away from the really, really artistic ones, a lot of them were just sort of, here's side A, and we're going to slap it on one side, and here's side again, we're just going to put it on the other side. So it just was a mirror image. And for me, that, you know, given that there was this budget that we can work with, I felt that the image had to wrap as a story, because storytelling is the key to connection. And you could see here when we go into the next design, you know, the last two, we added Fargo on us in a second location. But what we did again was a little bit different. Instead of just putting a big mirror version, we played with the size and the positioning just a little bit to continue to tell the story and make it a slightly different, so that you're looking around this in a 360 degrees, right? 360 degrees. And, you know, it's a story that continues from end to end. So you'll be able to find things in it. The first one up at the top there, this one was, the approach was one of the key things that we really hit on here was this interconnectedness. And for us, one of our big things is experiencing everywhere we work with. So whatever state we're in, we're working with, we like to experience it. And it was really great because of COVID being was in the short time frame. We couldn't land in Fargo, unfortunately, but we had reach, and we had this great community event, these community events that really allowed us to really get a feel for it. With the exception of snow, I'm desperately looking forward to coming to Fargo now. Okay. I don't do well in the cold, sorry. But that interconnectedness we did feel in the community conversation. So we weren't just listening, we were feeling what was happening too. And this was really influenced by that, because we felt the idea of energy, which is those color bands that are weaving through the background and the road. The road was important to us as well, because we felt that, you know, we heard stories about people who just came to Fargo temporarily and they never left. And it was sort of that all roads lead to Fargo sort of idea that really sat with us, as well as we heard that, you know, the words like crossroads, this is a crossroads. There's a lot of intersecting. So we didn't want to put a grid. So we had we fit the road with the idea of energy and momentum and life in those bands. Working from left to right, we start with the idea of bubbles. Now, that might seem to be a little out of place when you think about what does bubbles have to do with Fargo, but we heard people tell us stories about how they came to Fargo, what they were, where they were able to get their start in Fargo. So we heard these things, these stories, which to us were, living your dreams. So we referenced the idea of dreams and ideas and innovation and thought in the idea of bubbles, which transition into gears, which is the innovation, which is the forward thinking of the city. And then we placed the landmarks in there because we wanted to landmark. We wanted things that were recognizable. I can't remember. I'm working on another project, so I have all these building names in my head. But for the one I know for sure, there are two I know for sure in that right now are the, an implied shape of the theater, not highly detailed. And then I believe one is a news building, a news publisher building. Pardon?
The Forum.
Thank you. The third building, I can't remember what, the black building I want to say, but I might be mistaken. So forgive me, please. And then moving forward, Fargo is in the shape of a heart, which is that representation of that love for everybody, that helping hand, that being there, that sense of community. Moving further, we heard a lot about wind being a constant. And that was something that, how do you represent a constant? Because a constant can be your best friend, a constant can be your pet, constant can be your mom, a constant coworker. There are people there that are also constants in your life. So we use the wind as that constant in Fargo to represent the idea of that constant in the community. And again, the idea, the heart-shaped Fargo. And then the tree, because it's we can point that it's nature, but we probably would have made it green if it was truly about nature. It's more about the growth. That tree represents the growth, the continued growth people experience in Fargo. So for those who have come and never left, and for those who were born there who never want to leave, it's constant, right? There's a constant growth there. The color palettes were chosen because we were looking, and there is a slight change. What happens is from the yellow to the blue, it creates a little bit of a different feeling. We don't necessarily lose all the warmth in the blue one, but we emphasize, the emphasis sort of changes on those color bands. They become more vibrant and more alive. The tree becomes more alive. The buildings become more representative. So this just becomes almost a sense of where do you land on taste, the aesthetic, not necessarily we're going to lose any meaning by flipping the colors in this one. The next one,
Oh, yeah. Here's just some
here's
of the details.
some details. And then this is, again, don't hold it 100%. You know, the engineering team worked really hard to get our skin on the 3D concept, so it might not be 100% representative, but it's just there to give you a sense of what it might be like. So this one took a little bit of a whimsical approach to it. You know, we played with the idea of the night sky in it, and the snow. So the stars are in the sky. There's snowflakes in the sky. We even have some little details in there. Again, there's some birds in the sky. So there's a lot of little detail in that sky happening. But here we also took that wind, the same representation of a constant. And again, we wanted to invite you to come to the city. We wanted you to see the landmarks in the city. And once again, we have some landmark buildings, the theater, just a different version, a different way of representing it. And I believe also there is one other building in there. I can't remember which one it was. My apologies. Excuse me. Again, using the road theme. Because again, it's about crossroads. It's about the roads lead here. It's about going towards the future. In this case, what Emily did with the typeface was she sought out a typeface that the road sort of continued. It made the word Fargo, and that's how we landed on this typeface. Further in here with the details, we do have the tree here represented a couple of times, a little bit more subtle. It's sort of pushed in the background. And again, there's little details in here. There's activities. There is life on, you know, from the river. There's little things here and there. And yeah, there is a bison buried in here somewhere. You know, we felt that it was part of Fargo. It doesn't have to be the most prominent thing, and it's not, but it's buried in there, much like a tractor is buried in there somewhere. So there's all these little nuances and details. Again, on a larger scale, they'll be more visible than sitting here in, you know, a 6-inch space on your screen. Both of these designs incorporate from an overhead view of the Red River. They incorporate the shape of the Red River. Okay, so in this case, where the yellow meets the dark blue on the lower section, that is the shape of the Red River if you were looking at a map overhead. And that is prominent in both designs. Now, they are here because the river is life for Fargo. It's the sustenance. And you know, obviously, it's not about, it's, again, we don't want it to be about, you know, representing any negative happenings due to the river. We certainly want it all to be positive, because we did hear those positive statements about how important the river is to Fargo and how people utilize it. So we focused on getting that shape in there as being really, really important to both designs. Same thing here with the color palette. Here's some other 3D renders. And then the color palette here, we didn't flip a lot on the color palette on this one. We simply, we played with the background in this case. And that's where we landed on this, just simply the background for this one. There was no major change in color palette. Also want to note that on both designs, the lower section has that gray tone in it. And that's included in this so that from the post that holds the bowl and the dome in that lower section, what happens is that gray color transitions, that gray concrete color transitions. So there's not a harsh transition from the concrete tube to the tower. And we felt that was important too, because then that allows us, and we can't really get a good glimpse of it here, just simply because again, trying to use 3D software and skin a graphic on it is not the easiest thing. But what it does is it allows for the tower itself as a whole to start from the bottom and grow its way up. So that was important to adding that transitional element in there. And there you have it.
Monica had a request to go back to the 3D renderings. Monica, did you want to see all 4 of them?
No, we just went back to that slide, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay. Are we ready to just have comments now, or do you have more? Okay, all right. So let's throw it open to comments from the group, comments and questions.
Yeah, I'll be happy to start. I really like the bottom design, particularly because the typeface reminds me of neon signs, which are becoming rather prominent downtown. So that was the first thing that I thought of. It just fits so well into the area where the tower is currently located. Yeah, there's the combination of the contrasting colors just really stand out to me.
Okay.
So, may I, and I'm glad you picked up on that. Is it Monica or Monica? How do I say it?
Monica.
Okay. I'm glad you picked up on that, because that was actually an influence for Emily, was when she was trying to select the typefaces. She was looking at neon as one of the influences based on the signage that was happening downtown. And she didn't choose to go like full neon because she was also trying to figure out how to find a typeface to fit in the road. So I'm really glad you hit on that.
My coworker over here is having zoomies. Joys of working from home. Okay. I think we need to probably hear from everybody. Who's next? Who wants to go next?
This is
I'll go
Anne. I
next.
can.
Okay. Go ahead, Anne.
So I also lean toward the one on the bottom with the yellow and the darker blue. I feel like it has a lot more energy and fluidity. It just seems to have more energy in it to me. And there's something though about it that reminds me of like a roller skating rink for some reason. like or something from that era. I don't know what I'm trying to connect it with, but it reminds me of like a place and time, I guess. But I feel like the shapes have more movement to them. And you know, the idea of the road is there, but it's less literal, and I appreciate that. So of the two, I would lean toward the bottom one.
Thank you.
And again, if I may, Anne, I appreciate you hitting on that retro feel to it, because that was another topic of conversation. How do we find something that can be timeless?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Denise Kolpak, are you still with us? I don't want to miss you. No? Okay. John Offit?
I would also lean towards the bottom, but the lighter blue, not the darker blue. It's because I don't like the top one. It seems like there would be a theme between the tree and the bubble. The heart-shaped Fargo type is kitschy, and the forum sign to me is kind of phallic.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we needed to hear that. So yes, thank you. Brad?
There are actually pieces of both of them that I somewhat enjoy. I think both of them, have a lot of action and energy, which is great. I have a little concern about some of the elements on the bottom one, that they might be a little bit too small. I worry a little bit about scale. So some of those, tiny little elements, I'm just wondering if they're going to get lost depending on, the height and size of this. I do like the fact, the idea of storytelling and wrapping around the whole piece, and because you will eventually kind of see it from all sides. And so the idea of a piece of artwork like this with enough detail that it actually rewards repeated viewing, so that it's not a logo where you take it all in at once. It's something that's going to give you a little something to enjoy from every angle and every time you view it. So I like that. I'm just a little worried about some of those small elements kind of getting lost.
Okay,
So
can I
go ahead.
can I address that? So
Yes.
in this stage in the process, and it's a great question or a great concern, what happens here while we're going to choose, you guys are going to make a recommendation and the mayor's going to choose a final design. Our job is not done. Because once this is put to the painting company, well, not painting company, the coding company, we're going to have to make sure that they have a file that makes sense. And they're going to look it over, and they're going to say, well, yeah, this is going to end up being a little too small, or this is going to be a little too detailed. And so we're going to go back and we're going to be making final adjustments. And that is a concern that has been up on deck quite a bit when talking to the engineers. How do some of these smaller details translate at a larger scale later on? And that is something that will be addressed when we're in that technical aspect of making the final template that's going to be placed on the water tower.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Joe?
Hi, yeah, this is Joe. So I'm looking at these designs here, and I just want to congratulate you. These are both fine designs. I like on the image A, I like the sort of the boldness, the more solid shapes on there, and I appreciate the like what the other commissioners have said, the flow of the line work for image B. Reading through the descriptions of image A's and B, I had a question about the word diversity in image B, because when we're talking about discussions of diversity within the community, I sort of automatically look for images from our BIPOC community. And I'm a Wap'etuan from the system of Wap'etuno Yate. I'm an indigenous person. So I look for images that maybe reflect people of color within the community. And I don't see that in these designs. Anything obvious, I guess. And it's not a criticism. It's just when I see that word diversity, I would expect to see something that would include some of the people of color images in our community. But that being said, design-wise, they're finely constructed. So I just wanted to make that note.
Do you have a preference between A or B?
The illustrator in me goes towards A, but it's close between the two. They're both fine designs, so A would be my choice.
Okay. So Eric or Rachel, can you talk about Joe's concerns?
I'm not muted. Okay. I think, Joe, you bring up something that's very important to the whole group. We are, especially now, we worked really hard to include a diverse group of people in the conversations. as mentioned, we had folks from New Americans, we had young folks, we had older people. We had responses from Indigenous people through the survey. And within some of the iconography that is in the details of the right, I think the ones that are most easily seen are they really, I think you're right, they don't address diversity as far as the iconography goes. Eric, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I can say this, that one of the things that we were looking at when we were looking at how do you represent people was, authenticity is number one, and how do you avoid it looking like you've appropriated kitsch, because there's a lot of junk out there that says this is Nigerian, this is native, it's it's a little bit difficult when you're looking at iconography to find something that's authentic and yet represents everyone. Now I know that we had some ideas to put in there. We couldn't get those ideas validated as far as specific designs were concerned that represented, in the case of Native peoples, a wide range of Native people. It was, I won't tell you, it was, we did have some outreach that did go out there. I can't remember who was helping us, a woman's name. And it was just one of the concerns, again, was I had iconography, but it was, again, my issue was, A, is it authentic? B, does it represent legitimately? Because there was some, we pulled some Nigerian patterns too, and North African, South African patterns, and we were trying to confirm that a lot of these were legitimate. So what happened was we started to run more on ideology, in the sense of movement, forward thinking, because we were very pressed for time in this. And I genuinely believe, unfortunately, the circumstances, we had to create a community conversation and design simultaneously, which is a big deal, because normally when we do discovery and research, we have this period where we can do a long length of discovery and research, have community conversations, interview stakeholders, et cetera, and get a wider range of information that we can later verify and distill. So yes, while there are not any representations, we did make efforts, but that also leads me now back to technical, because if there are some things that we can change or add at some point when we're in that technical stage, there's possibilities to make sure that representations are there that are authentic. So the door isn't shut on anything, not yet. I hope that helps.
Yes, if I could say one more thing. No, I appreciate the effort to, I guess, what am I trying to say? Using discretion in using images, that are not, that would be appropriated. So I applaud you for not just throwing things at it just to try to make it look like something, because that could be far worse than having nothing in there. As a community member, I've been working on a couple of land acknowledgements, both for the Plains Art Museum. I'm working with another group right now. And I've had a number of conversations with both the Dakota in the south and the Anishinaabe in the north, that both were in this area when disruption happened. And in those land acknowledgements, both groups or sets of individuals that I've spoken with have acknowledged that the Red River is what is our tie to the land. And so when you put this outline of the Red River in there, I think that's a beautiful thing. And so as an Indigenous person, I look at that and I appreciate that. And so I think that's really well done. So I applaud you for representing the Red River as you have on this bottom one. So, and maybe that's something to have a tie-in in future conversations with this image. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. I'm glad to hear that the door isn't closed on this as yet. So thank you for that, Eric. Let's see. We have not heard from Tracy Galani.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
I love the number 2 image. It grabbed me immediately. I'm a Fargo North Spartan, and I have a jacket that has Fargo, I think almost exactly like that, embroidered on it. So, and this water tower is in North Fargo. So this might push some of you away from this image, but the navy and the gold spoke to me immediately. I also love the iconography, this small detail. I can actually see, if you can manifest this detail, it being kind of like even like things of scavenger hunts, like people go find these different things. And also to that end, somebody's going to find something under that speaks to them. And thank you, Joe, for your words, because hopefully we can find something that speaks to all of us that are here, living in this community, because that diversity piece was really important when we started this project. And I love, again, to Joe's point, the river, that outline, and honoring that and pulling that into all of the images. And the last thing I'll say about the second image is the road reminds me of the movie Heavy Metal and the roads that they were running on in Heavy Metal, which I think is groovy too. So well done.
Thank you, Tracy.
So Deb,
I'm going to try. Is Denise Kolpak on the phone yet? Denise? Okay, so I'm not getting anything. Okay, so it sounds like we're pretty much at number 2. It's like, that's it. So thank you all. I love it as well. I love that one. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, just again, I don't want to, when I say the door is open, I don't want to make it sound like we're going in for a massive redesign on this. I just want to be very clear. This is getting to that stage where we're in technical, where we can slip in some possible changes in place of other things. And at that point, so, I just want to make that really clear, because I don't, if you guys have a swath of ideas and you want to start from scratch, it's probably not happening.
No massive overhaul. No. We all know that, right? We're not going back to scratch. Okay. More about the icons than anything, I would think. Anyway, okay. So, was there anything else on the water tower? Anything else anybody wanted to add? Because I think we have our recommendation for the mayor. Oh, I was going to say I like the stars. I like the night sky on that second one. I like the dark blue. Yeah. Okay.
Chair, I'm just going to jump in. I wonder if we may need just a motion. Maybe I looked to Nicole for that, but if there needs to be a motion and a voice vote for that.
Okay. Yes. All right. So I am looking for a motion to recommend option B to the mayor as our preferred choice on the water tower. Can anybody?
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign? Okay, I think that, are we good? Yeah, we're solid there? Okay. All right, so that takes care of all the business on our agenda for today. I want to thank Eric and Rachel for all the work that they've done on this project. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the people in our community and the time to listen to us. I was kind of in on this from the beginning, and man, I can't even hardly imagine. I mean, what we ended up with is pretty amazing. It's not nowhere near what I thought it was going to look like. So that's fantastic. Thank you for all your hard work. And thanks to all of you for weighing in. Does anybody have any other business? Okay. Oh, I heard somebody want to. Yeah.
I put my email address in the chat window. So, again, if anybody has a thought about iconography, please email me. Especially Joe, I would certainly love if you can help us get something authentic and qualified. I would certainly like to see it and hear from you if at all possible. And anybody else, again, we're at a place with this design where, we get into that technical spot and we might be able to make some small nuanced changes and additions without a problem. And I would love to be able to accommodate.
So real quick, I fell off there for a moment. And did you select what color palette? Or did I miss that?
No. I think we all went with B, but I suppose we should go through it again and do the light blue or the dark blue.
Okay, I can share that again here.
Okay.
There.
Okay. All right. So now you guys all got really small. So I'm just going to run through you all quick and ask you light blue or dark blue. I'm going to start with you, Monica.
Light blue.
Okay. Joe?
Dark blue.
Okay. Tracy?
Navy and gold, baby.
Spartans, yeah. John?
I'm going to go with the dark blue. I originally said light blue, but Tracy made me switch my mind.
Oh.
I'm also Spartan.
Go Spartans, yeah. Let's see, Anne? Did I ask you, Anne?
You didn't, but I'd go with the dark blue for the contrast.
Okay. So all of you are tiny now. So I'm trying to see, and I'm trying not to miss anybody. Have I missed anybody?
Brad, I would say dark blue as well.
Brad. Dark blue. Okay, thank you. And I'm with the dark blue too. So Megan, should we have another motion on that?
I don't think it would hurt. You could.
Okay, all right. So can somebody please make a motion that in the water tower image B, our preferred color palette is the dark blue?
Can we just amend the motion?
Can we do that? Yeah, let's amend it. If we can do that, I'd rather do that. Yeah. Do we have to do another?
Just vote on the amendment.
Okay. So all those in favor of amending the motion with the dark blue color palette, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, great. So I think we got it. Okay, thank you guys. I was just going to throw out one more thing. I know that we talked last month about potentially doing a work session. Obviously, that didn't happen, but we are inching towards that. As of right now, staff has provided us with a start, and we're looking at potentially breaking down into 3 subcommittees, and we'll talk about that next month. In addition to, I want you all to start thinking about maybe the best uses for our budget, be it for another grant round that maybe is specifically titled with a theme, like maybe how we're dealing with COVID or something, or if we want to maybe put it towards some other kind of thing, some other kind of event. I think that we're not boxed in on how we spend that money. We will, I'm hoping, be sending more information out, and we'll be able to start 2021 off with a much different bang than 2020. That was a sad, ugly bang. We want a better bang for 2021. So, yeah. So, is there anything from anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm not sure if this is commission business or something that I should delve into in an email to you, but is there a way for us to learn from this process and including those diverse voices in the next conversation in a more substantial manner?
I think that that's something that we should be looking at in terms of education, maybe for the commission. So, and I think that's something that we should figure out how we can do. Yes, yeah. But I think that's probably something for us to talk about as we're putting together our work plan. How do we make sure that we're doing everything we can to get the right voices in the room? Is that what you're asking, Monica? Am I getting it right?
That is what I'm asking. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Is there anything else from anybody else? Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to say we're done. Oh, and it's 6 o'clock. How about that? Magic. Just like that. An hour. Okay. Thank you all very much. We will see you next month, hopefully in person. But we'll stay safe. We'll stay safe. Do what we have to do to stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.